Guys, welcome back to the channel. I wanted to do a video today on 10 tips. I have done one before as well, I believe, if I'm not wrong. Or maybe that was 20 tips. I just went through them quickly and briefly. But I wanted to do like 10 tips again because I feel like from time to time it's important to cover like some important elements of the recovery journey. And also, I just wanted to cover some points which I may not have covered before. If you like our channel, if you like this video, please like this video, click the thumbs up button, comment on our video, share our video, subscribe to our channel, and interact with us, engage with us. We always want to have that on this channel. Anyway, I'll go through these one by one. So the first one is uh, it's not about responding to your thoughts. So what I mean by that is that I think whenever we talk about dealing with intrusive thoughts, whenever we are trying to ask for advice about dealing with intrusive thoughts, we often say, our question is often phrased as, okay, so what do I say to myself? So it's not really about what you say to yourself or what you say in your head to those thoughts, because you're trying to, what it often then comes off as is that starts working as an equation that I have a problem, this is the solution and formula that I'm applying to it. So it's not like having a headache and taking a painkiller for it and then being completely okay, because then you're just saying words. I mean, you're not really trying to change or talk about your beliefs. You're just mechanically saying words as like a antidote to like whatever mental problem that's you think you are facing. So it's about really the belief, whether you believe it or not. I mean, if you don't believe it and if you're just saying it in your head, then it won't really work. So you have to stop looking at it as, oh, I'm going to say this to myself and then I'll be okay, or these are the words, or this is the mantra I'll say in my head and I'll be okay after that. No. um, you have to actually work on changing your beliefs and trying to see things from a different perspective for it to actually work. So for you to actually be able to deal with your intrusive thoughts um, in a less um, ineffective way, if that makes sense. So the second thing is, we often end up in the cycle of where we're not really putting in effort or regularly working on recovery. We often just go along our days feeling all right, feeling like, okay, it's manageable. I don't feel great, but I think I have a handle on it enough. I'll do these two compulsions and I'll be okay. I mean, we're just like in that phase where we're just like going along with it in that sense. But it's a moment of high anxiety where we start to like kind of panic a little bit, and we reach out and we're like, okay, please answer this question for me. How do I deal with this right now? Because I've been dealing with it, and in this moment I find it terribly difficult to do it. So just give me some kind of advice. What can I do about it? And then when we receive the advice, we may or may not apply it. I mean, we might apply it a little bit, and then the next day we just move on. And then we repeat that entire cycle of like not actively prioritizing working on recovery seriously, and just like managing anxiety in that sense, just like getting by as best as we can. And then in a moment of high anxiety, we ask for advice again. And then, this kind of cycle, what it does is it just keeps us stuck in the same problem over and over and over again. We don't really ever move past whatever fear or compulsion or issue that we are facing. We stay stuck in the same beliefs, and therefore the anxiety cycle remains as prominent as ever in our life. The third one I want to highlight is, wait, what have I written? Okay, yeah. Be more hands-on and participate in activities in and around your life. Because I think with OCD and with debilitating anxiety, what we often do is, either because we're feeling too fatigued or we just don't feel like it. I mean, we're just not feeling great. We stop participating in activities in our life, around in our house or with our friends or any of those things. We don't like to move much. We like to either stay in bed, stay on the couch, look at Netflix, scroll on the phone, put up Insta stories, watch fun YouTube videos, and just live the bare minimum in that sense. And this doesn't mean that every single day has to be like this hyperactivity day kind of thing. But what I'm trying to say is that don't avoid and go out of your way to say no to activities that you just don't feel like participating in, because I think generally in mental health advice there is that notion of it's okay to like have an off day or rest. It's okay to like just not to say no and not do things. And while that is important for sure, I think specifically with OCD and debilitating anxiety, what happens is that it just becomes a recurring and very frequently visited notion that we embody, that okay, I'm giving myself a break, I'm too exhausted mentally for this. And then what that does is that months and months and months go by and we don't end up doing anything really. I think for me specifically, I can give this example that because of chronic suffering for many years, I kind of stopped participating in very like hands-on activities in my house or like even with my friends at times. And despite having worked on recovery and despite having, I would like to say I'm recovered from contamination OCD, in many ways I'm still in the process of learning to be more physical and be more mobile with my hands and like while I'm doing any kind of activity, because I just stopped doing things and like my body kind of forgot. Not forgot, like your muscles and your um, sensory motor abilities and all those things, those become, it's like you're learning to live and move again in a way. So don't let that happen to you. Like be able to participate in activities around the house. Like if someone is asking you to help them, I don't know, clean the dishes or go do groceries or organize a cabinet or clean the carpet or something like that, help them do that. I go out with my friends now and we do gaming at times together, which I didn't really do before, but now I really enjoy it. Or I do help around the house now, which I had stopped doing. I'm learning how to drive again. I had stopped doing that because of OCD. So, and these things really help you get out of your own head in that sense, because otherwise you just stay stuck in just like this. I don't know if that translated well on video, but number four is with anxiety fatigue, I think. So what I want to highlight over here is that and this is related to the previous point in that sense, that with me, I've had a lot of anxiety fatigue, mentally, emotionally, physically. I just felt exhausted all the time. I was burnt out all the time, and if I made like even the slightest effort into something, after that I would quickly be exhausted and I would need a nap, or I would feel like I'm getting sleepy, and it just really my in my it felt like that my body was constantly saying that rest, 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 go to sleep, take every opportunity that you can to rest and recharge, because otherwise you'll stay exhausted all the time. So with anxiety fatigue, I think what I eventually realized was that there is no amount of rest that will make me feel better and good, because this in that sense seems like a constant state then. And I will not be able to, I'll not get anything done in life if I just go by this fatigue thing. I have to make some extra effort. I have to push myself a bit more. So then I started to use opportunities to break that anxiety fatigue. So even if I didn't take initiative sometimes myself to do um, to take some kind of action, if let's say my brother said, "Okay, can you please go with me to XYZ place because I need to run these few errands, and I mean, I need someone with me or something like that. Um, I would say, okay, I'll go, even though I would absolutely not want to go. But I used I started using, requested something of someone wanted a favor. I used that as an opportunity to push myself and get out of bed and do something. So, and that eventually, when I started to really get into, like, participate, like I said, participate in activities or do more hands-on tasks and stuff like that, that's where the anxiety fatigue started to break, and that's where I started to build momentum for putting in energy and getting things done, and crossing things off my to-do list and stuff like that. Otherwise, my to-do list would always remain like this long list of things I wanted to do but never did. Um, Number five is limit your screen time. And I'm not your mom. That's not why I'm saying this. The reason I'm saying this is because I think we with I don't know if I think I read some, like, article by some scientists and or something like that. But basically, like, with screen time, with looking at our phones or watching Netflix or stuff like that, we don't have to use our brains a lot. We don't have to put that kind of mental effort into things. It's just our brains, when we're scrolling, our brain is kind of like on autopilot. It just seizes in that sense, and we're just like very comfortably scrolling and looking at things or watching an episode of Friends or something like that. And what that does is we then get stuck in that coziness, that mental coziness, because we're not having to put any effort, and we like that we don't have to exhaust ourselves that way, and so we become addicted to um, that kind of autopilot mode. And then when we start to then we when we have something where we have to put our mental energy into, we immediately become exhausted quickly, because we have no longer allowed our brain to feel used to putting in some effort. We are training it to love the comfort. We are training it to be on autopilot and not having to work on anything. Which is why when often with OCD, when we are recommending people to read books or articles or watch long videos, I mean, it just seems like, oh, who wants to do that? Because I mean, it's boring, it's long, you have to really listen, you have to really try to make sense of things, and it takes a while to get your, like, you know, inner clockwork working. It takes a while to oil that up and, get it going and functioning again. But uh, again, it's really worth the effort. So screen time just really absorbs you and puts you on autopilot. So try to limit that and try to engage with things around you, so that you can train yourself to have more mental, physical, and emotional energy. Otherwise, it just depletes and depletes. Number six is finding answers in emotions or psychoanalysis. So, this is something that I did a lot, where I would analyze my feelings and my emotions constantly, and I would psychoanalyze myself like to death, because I would constantly make connections and constantly try to figure the web out of, like, the my mental web out of what connects to what emotion is connected to which event in my life, which affects me the most or not. I mean, all these, yeah, and just trying to analyze past events in my life, trying to search for answers in the past, and really, really strongly believing that there's going to be this one realization, some kind of epiphany that helps me connect all of it together so well that I will finally find all the answers that I want and find all the relief that I want. But that, I mean, clearly did not work. I mean, so for example, going for therapy and discussing my life, discussing myself, I mean, those did help me gain quite a lot of self awareness, and a very deep understanding about how I interacted with other people and how I developed relationships, all those things, and what things made me the way I am in that sense. But none of that gave me an answer for OCD, and I just remain stuck with OCD. And therefore, that's why after a few years, I realized, okay, I mean, I've developed all this understanding, which is great, and that helps me in many areas of my life, but it does not deal with chronic anxiety. It does not lower my chronic anxiety. I have not found an answer, and there is no answer. So stop looking for answers for OCD in your emotions and in your past, because that's an endless cycle that's difficult to get out of. Number seven is showing immediate reaction to solve things. So, I mean, I think I did a post on this at some point as well, is also where we get an anxious thought or some feelings of anxiety or anxious sensations in our body, and we immediately want to solve it, or I mean we give an immediate reaction to it, as and what that tells our brain is that, number one, this is something genuinely to be afraid of, so that needs to be solved right now. And secondly, it trains your brain to uh, treat every single or the slightest presence of discomfort or anxiety with urgency, that this needs urgent attention. I need an answer right now. I need a solution right now. So, um, showing that kind of immediate reaction is never helpful in that sense in these matters. So, that's what we also often talk about on the channel as well, that we have to allow our thoughts to just be present, and we have to learn to become observers of our thoughts. That's where we start to kind of distance ourselves from our thoughts and intrusive feelings and urges in that sense, because we're not immediately trying to solve them or like figure them out in any way, or do an immediate kind of compulsion. We are therefore um, allowing ourselves to feel uncomfortable, and therefore create that kind of like um, distance with the thoughts and those feelings. Number eight is giving up or abandoning working on recovery as soon as you feel a little better. So this is something that often people fall in. This is a trap that people often fall into, where you start to feel better, and because you're feeling better, because you feel a relief in symptoms, you're like, okay, I mean, this is not as bad as it was maybe like a month ago. So I'm okay dealing with this much level of anxiety and discomfort. So it's fine. I don't, I mean, maybe I don't need to work on recovery immediately. I'll get to it, but this much is fine as well. I'm doing fine. But that's just a very short-lived thing, because eventually your OCD will have a spike with something. Your OCD will morph, maybe the theme will change. Your compulsions might kick in suddenly, because we can't escape triggers in our life. Triggers will always, in that sense, be there. It's the way we deal with them that changes with recovery. So, um, where was I going with this? My point is, don't abandon recovery as soon as you start to feel a little better. Go on with it. Don't coast, because that's not helpful. That won't help you. It's going to give OCD more time to simmer. It's going to give OCD like more opportunities to find something to scare you with in that sense. Um, yeah. And number nine is, actually, sorry, before I move forward, I did a video on this called What to Do on Good Days and Bad Days, I think it was called. And I touched upon this, where when we feel better, we immediately come to the conclusion that, okay, now I am recovered. I am fine. I am over this theme. This fear, it does not bother me anymore. So these kind of quick conclusions like delude us into believing that, oh, we're completely out of the woods, but we really aren't. So so yeah, don't give up recovery work that easily, that quickly. Number nine is the thing that we keep saying on this channel, in the WhatsApp groups and on the Facebook group, is that acceptance is not agreement. And I think not agreement and acceptance doesn't mean you like something, or that you want it to happen, or that you are indifferent to it. None of those things. Because if we look at like a regular human being who does not have OCD, um, they go about their lives, I mean, with so many things that they dislike and so many things that they um, don't want to happen in their life, don't want to occur in their life. We don't I mean, they don't go around obsessing about it all day long, doing so many compulsions, just chronically on edge, chronically anxious all the single time. Because, in that sense, without knowing, they have an acceptance of themselves, people around them, and life at large. I won't say it's unconditional acceptance because I think there is like a great deal of irrationality that goes around in the world, but still, I mean, the point I'm trying to make over here is that they still have a acceptance of life at large it's because they're not drowning in anxiety, they're not drowning in fear all the time like we do. So, and that's like an example for you that by acceptance it does not mean that we have to like something or that we agree with something or we want it to happen. It just means that we're able to coexist with all the things that we may dislike or not want in our life and stuff like that. We're able to coexist with them while still working on, like, maybe working not like working against them or not making them a part of our life or not doing them. So I mean, we can make that conscious effort and we can still work towards things that we want in our life, but that doesn't mean that we have to perform 100 compulsions all day long to achieve that. And the last thing is that changing your outlook on life and like what happiness means is so essential because, and this is something I've said like a few times before as well, where I think that, and this is a personal like just take on things, is that chasing happiness is a losing game because by chasing happiness, that means you are not making room or accepting the existence of bad, sad things in your life. You are constantly moving towards like this one perfect feeling or state of mind. And if you don't achieve that, then um, you feel completely unsatisfied with life. And happiness is a moving target. I mean, you might be happy with something at one point, then you get bored, and then you want to move on with something else. I think the thing that one should go after or aim for is contentment. And I think contentment and happiness are two very different things because with contentment, you are making room and embracing and uh, making peace with the coexistence of even the bad things that have happened in your past or things that are happening in your life, while still also cherishing the happy things or the good things in your life. So I think content, and for me contentment is that lack of um, lack of hypertension between the good and the bad. It's like a state of like more calmness between the good and the bad, and the happy and the sad. um, and I think with OCD suffering, we are constantly in this moment of hypertension between, no, the good must be there, the bad must not be there, the happy must be there, the sad must not be there at all. um, and I think it was a real light bulb moment for me when I really thought to myself that I'm just going after the wrong things. I'm not accepting the reality that sad things and bad things have happened and will happen to me in life. Um, and that's where I started to like calm down a little bit about um, catastrophe or bad things coming my way. So, and I mean, and that's where I started to become not chronically anxious or fearful of um like negative things in my life. I mean, it's not that I invited them, obviously. I still worked on trying to not have them happen, but even if they happened, it did not make me curse the entire universe to death. So yeah, those are my 10 tips for this video. I hope you like it. I hope you enjoyed it. And I will come back soon with another video this week, maybe. I have a couple of topics I lined up, but I don't know if I'll do a video on those topics or something new. If you have any recommendations, let me know. I'd love to talk about something. And I'll see you soon. Bye. Take care.